Welcome to another episode of My Soul Connection. I'm your host, Billie Kay Kavert. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm doing my first ever solo cast. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have a personal story to share. It seems like a good time to share it as we're nearing the end of the year and entering into the holiday season. And it has to do with a goal that I made for myself, which was to give up drinking for 2025. So here we are, 11 months into it, 1 month to go, and feeling very strong about it. But wanting to share my experience because I know a lot of people are pondering this idea of either giving drinking up for a short time, experimenting with 30, 60, 90-day challenges, or even quitting permanently. And so, with this new sober, curious movement that we've all seen in the last few years, I thought it would be good for people to hear about some of the challenges that arose for me, but also some of the very unexpected benefits that really kept me going throughout the year and are probably going to keep me going for a much longer period of time now that I'm 11 months into it and no longer have the desire to drink. So, I want to let you know this is really not about judgment or labels. This is not an indoctrination on my part to try to get people to stop drinking. It's really more about taking this time at the end of the year to assess what you value most in life and then kind of seeing how alcohol fits into that picture if you even choose to look at it. But maybe something will resonate here with you. Maybe you'll learn something that you didn't know or that was unexpected. I really wish I had had the opportunity to talk to somebody about their experience doing something similar because I think it would have encouraged me to do something about it much sooner instead of waiting year after year to actually make this decision and pull the trigger on it. So without further ado, let me share some of the expected things and why I took on this challenge to begin with. First of all, over the last 10 or so years, I've just noticed how much more of a toll alcohol takes on my body. I mean, I'm in my late 40s now. We can't just shrug off hangovers like we used to. And we get hangovers so much easier. I mean, I never used to get a hangover after drinking 2 or 3 glasses of wine. And now that's something that could cause me a 2 or 3 day headache. So I I had been getting gentle nudges over the years to take a look at this, to take some breaks. And so I would do like dry January or even a 60 or 90-day challenge. And every time I would come to the same conclusion. Those first 2 weeks were difficult. Third and fourth week, it started to get easier. And then on the longer challenges, like 90 days, I would start to notice that I was feeling like a whole new person. And I wasn't necessarily at those times chomping at the bit to get back to drinking, but I was wanting to get back to a healthy, moderate level of drinking. But every time I managed to get sucked back into, oh, I'm just going to drink on the weekends and it's just going to be 2 glasses per day on the weekends. And then the weekends, it would initially start off as Friday and Saturday night, and then it would go into Sunday. It's like, well, Sunday's still a weekend day. And then next thing you know, Wednesday, it's a tough day at work. I've had a long day. I'm tired. And gosh, a glass of wine sure would sound good right now. And next thing you know, I'm right back into the habit again. So while it was great to take those short periods of time off, it never really got me to a point of not desiring alcohol anymore. I would always end up back in that same pattern again and then be in conflict and fighting myself on this habit on a daily and certainly weekly basis, just fighting myself. Am I going to drink? Am I not? Am I going to have one or am I going to have three? Am I okay to drive? If I'm going to drive tonight, how many am I going to allow myself? So after years of getting those little intuitive nudges and trying these little short stints and then that not working for me, I finally decided around the fall of 2024 that I was going to give it up for the year, or at least I was about 80% sure. And the reason I say 80% sure is because I was facing a lot of fear and anxiety and uncertainty about quitting, even just for a year. I had fear that I would fail. And if I failed, what did that mean about me as a drinker? That mean I was an alcoholic? I also had uncertainty about what it was really going to do for me, how it was going to benefit me, and how I was going to make it through the year with all these different social engagements and activities that seemed to revolve around drinking. Not only did I have uncertainty about those events, but I also had a lot of anxiety, and I didn't really realize how much anxiety I had until I actually quit drinking, and I'll expand on that in a moment. The anxiety came from the fact that alcohol was such an integral part of most of these events that were going on throughout the year. Let me give you a few examples. Super Bowl. All the 3-day weekend holidays like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Independence Day, backyard barbecues with friends, family, and neighbors. Also, work meetings where drinking was a very heavy presence. It was almost like if you don't drink, you're on the outs, and it was highly encouraged and almost pushed on people. And that's been true in pretty much every work environment I've been in. It's not just the company I work for now, it's just kind of prevalent in corporate America. And of course, the holidays. It all kicks off around Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then, of course, into Christmas. Like December just seems to be a free for all. It's like go for it in December and know that you'll get it all cleaned up in January. At least that was my MO for a long time. Another thing that I was really concerned about was just the social pressure from friends and colleagues. Let's face it, relationships change when one or more of the parties in the relationships quit drinking. I mean, after all, I'm a pretty fun person when I'm buzzed because I tend to take life a little too seriously at times. And so I get to be a little, I loosen up, I'm funny, I'm making jokes, we're all laughing. And I was just worried, would my friends even think I was fun anymore? Would I be having fun anymore in these situations? Would they even want to be around me anymore? Would my personality still be able to come out without alcohol? One other reason I was fearing giving it up is because I couldn't imagine taking a vacation and not having alcohol. It sounds so stupid to people who don't drink or who are light drinkers, I'm sure. But I couldn't imagine going to sit on a beach in Mexico or going on a road trip or going camping or hiking and all the things that my husband and my family and I love to do outdoors without finishing the day with a cold beer or a glass of wine or something celebratory. Vacation and alcohol went hand in hand to me, and I was really stuck on the fact that I wasn't going to be able to have alcohol on a vacation if I decided to leave it behind for the year. The thing that got me over the hump and made me decide to actually give it up was my health. Health is one of my biggest priorities in life. I just feel like if I am not healthy, if I'm not feeling well, if I can't move easily, I'm just not going to be happy in life. I eat really clean. I still run and lift weights and do yoga and do all kinds of outdoor activities, work out all the time. I meditate. I try to get lots of sleep. So it was pretty hard to ignore that drinking, even moderately, was really working against my number one priority in life, my health. And becoming aware of that misalignment was actually the one thing that I needed to do to get me over that hump and commit to it. I also knew that even the moderate drinking that I was doing was causing a lot of brain fog, some GI issues. It was disrupting my sleep patterns. It was causing headaches that sometimes lasted for days and anxiety when I didn't have the alcohol in certain social situations. In addition to knowing that it was working against me taking good care of myself and my health, I just didn't feel great. I just always felt a little off. I also just recognized that I wanted to get rid of the habit itself. I've never identified as an alcoholic, but I recognized that this habit had more power over me than I wanted it to, and it was creating a dependency. And I wanted freedom from anything that felt like a quiet dependency. I was depending on it when I was stressed. I was depending on it in social situations to loosen up. I was depending on it on vacation and at parties. I was depending on it to get me through work meetings. There were just too many dependencies, and that felt sort of suffocating. And lastly, I had some family motivations. I have two boys who are teenagers, and I was thinking about the fact that for their entire lives, they've seen their dad and I drinking on a very regular basis, maybe not every day, but definitely always on the weekends and some weeknights. And I really wanted to model healthier coping strategies for them. After all, what they witnessed for most of their life was their dad and I having a stressful day, coming home, grabbing a glass of wine, and checking out. So the decision to quit drinking in 2025 really came from the idea that I wanted to have sort of a curious experiment for the year and see, in general, did my life improve or did it decline somehow? Would my sleep improve? Would my mood stabilize? Would my gut health improve? Would I become more sharp and clear, have less brain fog and more focus? Would my overall vitality change and would I have more energy? What would happen with my stress levels? Could I have fun socially without alcohol? And what version of me would emerge when alcohol wasn't part of the picture? In a sense, this was a way of me meeting my true adult self for the first time. So, what did I gain from it? And these were the expected things. So, these are probably not going to be very surprising for you, but I definitely started getting better sleep. I was going to bed earlier and I was getting better quality sleep. I would wake up feeling fully rested, whereas before, even if I was drinking moderately, I just felt like I'd wake up after 7 hours of sleep and I just didn't feel rested. It was because my quality of sleep was bad. It did improve my mood. I found that overall, I had less mood variability. I was just in a more consistently positive mood. I definitely experienced some more mental clarity. I just felt like a lot of the brain fog had lifted. I also noticed I had more evening energy. I would get less fatigued at night. I mean, I am a very busy person and I wake up early and I work really hard all day. So I'm going to be tired at night no matter what. But usually I'm kind of physically and mentally exhausted. When I added the alcohol into the equation, though, I was also sleepy on top of that. So it's like I just had a really hard time getting through my nights. My gut health, I would say, slightly improved. Normally I was only having GI issues when I drank three or more drinks and then started eating bad foods as a result of it. I also noticed I was consistently getting better workouts. And I'll clarify that because I was always really disciplined. I would go to the gym and do my workouts or go on my runs, do my yoga, whatever, no matter what, but I didn't always feel great when I was doing it. So there were some days I remember doing some hot yoga and I was thinking, thank God I have this detox process to pull the alcohol out of my system to sweat it out. And I don't have that anymore. So I'm feeling better during my workouts and I'm not having nearly as many just crappy workouts. My diet was always pretty good, but I had a tendency to make poor decisions when I was drinking. And of course, the more I drank, the more the poor decisions came. My diet improved and overall weight maintenance became much easier than it ever has been in the past. And I'm getting older, so that shouldn't be the case, right? I've also noticed a lot less inflammation. I don't see the inflammation in my face anymore or in my tummy area. I just feel overall less bloated. And a big kicker I know for a lot of people is I saved a shit ton of money. I mean, it is expensive to be a drinker. Let's face it. Whether you're just drinking beer and wine on the weekends or you've got more of a habit than that, it is expensive, especially when you account for the restaurant bills. I think my husband and I combined are saving about $60 on every meal that we have out. And I know that's not a surprise for anybody. And considering that wasn't one of my main objectives, it was like, okay, cool. This is another plus, but can't go unnoticed, right? Now, this is the more fun and exciting part to talk about, the unexpected benefits. This was actually something I didn't see coming at all. It's one of those things you don't know what you don't know. I did not realize how much anxiety and stress I was carrying that was tied to drinking. And let me explain what I mean by that. I was in constant conflict and constant battle with myself around whether I should drink or not, whether I should just have one or I should have two, whether I'm okay to drive or not. If I'm going out to a party, who's going to drive? If I'm the DD, how many can I have? What am I allowed to drink? Am I just going to drink on the weekends and take the week off? After about a month of not drinking, I had a big old monkey come off of my back that I had been carrying around for so long. It was like this underlying level of stress and anxiety that I didn't even know was there at all times. And it was a constant source of tension about these decisions that were weighing on me so heavily every single day that had to do with drinking. And it was around all the rules that I would try to create for myself or decisions I would have to make on the daily. So, for example, I was always trying to work out some magic schedule so that I would hold myself accountable for not drinking too much, right? So it would be, I'm not going to drink during the week, only on the weekends. But then what happens when Wednesday night rolls around and you've had a stressful day and you give in? And then once you do, you're battling, do I have one or is it okay for me to have two? Oh gosh, a third one really sounds good right now. And that would go on and on. And then on the weekends, I would first try to tell myself that I could have no more than two drinks on Friday and Saturday night. Well, it would sometimes bleed into three, maybe even four. And then I would make some poor food choices. And then I would wake up the next day feeling like shit. And then, Sunday, we're going to count that as a weekend day. Oh, well, that means Monday morning when I have to wake up at 5 a.m., I don't feel great. And then I would beat myself up and I'd feel guilty and I would shame myself and I would go into this constant pattern and cycle that was never ending. I would also have a lot of decisions arise around, am I going to drink at this work event because I've got to drive home from 40 miles away? And so I'd have another battle in my head. And then if I do, I would tell myself I'm only going to have one. But guess what? You get there, you start having fun, you have one and one leads to two, two leads to three. Next thing you know, I have to Uber home from 40 miles away and then have my husband the next day drive me over to get my car. So I knew I was having this constant battle, but I just didn't realize how heavily it was weighing on me and how much I shamed myself, how much guilt I felt, how much I beat myself up over it when I felt like crap the next day because I had drank the night before, even if it was just a little bit. And these constant games I was playing myself, it's fucking exhausting. It's so exhausting. And I didn't realize how exhausted I was from it until I just didn't have to make those decisions anymore. It was like, oh my God, I'm free from these decisions. I've never experienced this in my life, with the exception of being pregnant. But that doesn't even count because you have a baby inside and you have another purpose in life at that time. But I just had no idea, no sense of what was going to happen from removing that decision out of my mind completely. It brought this sense of calm and peace to my life that I had no idea was even a possibility. So a lot of the stress that I was feeling on a very regular basis all led back to alcohol, but I had no idea. I just didn't know. And what's really ironic about it is most people are drinking on a regular basis to ease the stress. But what's actually happening is that pattern and that dependency that they get stuck in is actually something that ends up increasing their stress levels and they don't realize it. At least I didn't. And the other thing, as we all know that happens, is you're not actually dealing with the source of your stress. You're just masking it. And so it doesn't go away. You're just burying your emotions. So those continue to live inside of you and fester. And then you have all sorts of other problems there. So what this did for me is encouraged me to start using the tools that I already know I had to reduce my stress. And really for me it just became a matter of finding ways to calm down, reset my nervous system and think clearly so that I could make the best decisions for myself. So some of the alternative tools I would use are taking a warm bath or going to sit in my hot tub, exercising, reading, meditating, having a warm cup of tea in the winter or in the summer. Sometimes it was a cold soda water or something, and I would just go sit outside and get a little sun on my face. These tools that I was using to help me calm down and get to a more neutral place were doing just that. They weren't going to solve my problems, but they were getting me to a point where I could be neutral and then deal with my problems when the time was right. Another thing I didn't expect so much is the level of support I got from people. I actually was going into the year thinking I was going to catch a lot of shit from friends and family members and coworkers, but I really didn't. Most people were pretty supportive of it. I was surprised to see how many people were really genuinely curious about it and ended up being inspired by me. So that's pretty cool and was unexpected. But I've definitely noticed there's like this quiet movement of people who are questioning alcohol's role in their life, and having expanders where they can see it to believe it has been really helpful to people. And it's heartwarming to know there are so many people that actually want to improve this area of their life. The other unexpected thing, the having fun piece. I'm going to be honest, the first 3 months was really difficult getting through some of the big social gatherings. At some point, there was like a turning point where I just got used to not having alcohol and it wasn't a big deal anymore. It wasn't top of mind. And I started really having fun. I started noticing my personality coming out just like it did when I was drinking, except maybe not quite as wild. And I had just as much fun as I did when I was drinking. I mean, let's face it, there are nights where I could look back at my life and think of quite a few nights where I had a blast and I was pretty shit faced. And I also felt pretty shitty the next day. There were way fewer highs and lows, like the highs of being drunk and having a really good time, but then the low the next day, which often led to 2 or 3 days and I'm never drinking again. I don't have any of that anymore. So I have no more lows. But I do have some highs that maybe just aren't as high as they once were. My barometer has changed. So I think it's about time to wrap up, but I wanted to address some of the questions I most often get. People are always asking me, are you just hankering for another drink? Are you going to have your first drink on January 1st of 2026? And the answer is a hard no. Sorry to disappoint. I just don't have the desire for it anymore. I don't know for sure if I'm going to quit forever. I'm actually just leaving myself some space to make that decision if and when the time arises that I feel like I want to have a cocktail for whatever reason. If I ever do drink again, it will be very occasional and it'll be very intentional. You know, like if I go to a 5-star steakhouse and I want to have a really good glass of red wine, I'll have a really good glass of red wine. I will enjoy it. I won't make myself feel guilty about it, but I'm not going to have 3 or 4, or I'm not going to keep the party going and I'm not going to let it go into the next day and then have it turn into a whole new habit again. Definitely not going down that road again. But I think the important point is not whether or not I've quit for good, but the fact that I just don't feel the desire anymore. And I never thought in a million years when I made this decision to quit for 2025 that I wouldn't have the desire anymore. I did not think I would be in this place right now. So this has been one of the best decisions of my life, honestly. I've learned so much about myself and what I'm capable of. It's also revealed to me how normalized and glorified drinking is in our society and how many people feel misaligned with it, but are paralyzed with fear, some of the fears that I've mentioned before, or are stuck with this societal pressure. Like they have so much fear around what people will think. But there is a cultural shift happening, and it seems to be in alignment with people becoming more spiritual too. You know, people are looking for deeper meaning in life. They're trying to find their life's purpose. They're trying to be more present and trying to appreciate life more, be more spontaneous, bring more joy into their life. And my experience with all of that is that's made easier, and the path is definitely more clear when you're free from a dependency on alcohol. So I just want to encourage you that if it's something you've been considering, don't be afraid. It could be one of the best things that's ever happened in your life. It's not to judge anyone's drinking or to say that drinking is wrong and everyone should try this. It's really an encouragement to listen to your own intuition. And if this has been something that's been on your mind for a long period of time, just stop and listen. This all goes back to being aware of yourself, aware of your habits, awakening to what might have been hiding in the shadows for a long time that you didn't want to face. healing, and living in alignment and connection with your truest self. So if you're at all inspired by this or just curious and want to know more, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to leave all of my contact information in the show notes, or I'd love for you to have some engagement online, leave some comments from whatever platform you're consuming this podcast. Be open and curious and see where this can lead you. And if you're not interested in this and you want to keep on drinking, more power to you. I have nothing but love for you. And I hope everybody, regardless of what choice you make, has a great holiday season and a wonderful and healthy 2026. So thank you for listening and keep connecting with your soul. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of My Soul Connection. If you found the information useful, be sure to rate and review the episode and share it with others as well. And make sure you subscribe to the My Soul Connection podcast so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep connecting with your soul.